Magnavox Odyssey, 1972. When we talk about consoles that were ahead of their time, we must start with the first one that dared to imagine a future nobody else could see. In 1972, long before the world understood what video games could be, the Magnavox Odyssey emerged, not with fanfare or the polish of later machines, but with the spark of pure innovation. The Odyssey wasn't flashy, it had no sound, no color graphics, and required plastic overlays you stuck on your television screen. But its significance wasn't in what it did, it was in what it proved possible. This was the machine that introduced the very idea of interactive digital entertainment inside the home. At a time when televisions were passive boxes, the Odyssey turned them into something new, a gateway to virtual worlds. People suddenly had control over what happened on their screens. A simple dot could represent a ball, a spaceship, or a phantom in the night. The Odyssey invented the concept of the paddle controller, a design later copied by Pong and nearly every early arcade cabinet. But the most futuristic element was its game card architecture. These cards functioned much like early programming switches, altering the circuitry inside the console to produce new games. This laid the groundwork for cartridges, discs, and digital downloads. Atari 2600, 1977. 5 years after the Odyssey lit the spark, the Atari 2600 poured gasoline on it. This wasn't just a machine, it was a revolution in a wood grain shell. By the late 1970s, video games were booming in arcades, but home systems were stuck with single game limitations. The 2600 shattered that barrier with a groundbreaking innovation. The interchangeable ROM cartridge. This was the first time a console offered a flexible, expandable library of games, giving players a reason to return again and again. But it was the 2600's internal architecture that made it decades ahead. Its custom chips allowed developers to pull off tricks that should have been impossible for its primitive hardware. Smooth scrolling, detailed sprites, and even complex level designs. Game developers were essentially magicians working with extremely tight limitations. They learned to exploit the console's scanline-based timing, effectively painting graphics onto the screen in real time. This created effects that weren't technically supported by the hardware but became iconic. Sega Dreamcast, 1998/1999. If there's one console in history that gamers consistently describe as too advanced for its era, it is the legendary Sega Dreamcast. Released in 1998 in Japan and 1999 worldwide, it arrived like a meteor, bright, brilliant, and gone too soon. Dreamcast was the world's first online-focused console. While others were still debating whether online gaming made sense, Sega went all in, including a built-in modem in every unit. Players could browse the web, chat, share messages, and, most importantly, play games online. This was years before Xbox Live and almost a decade before online multiplayer became mainstream. The hardware was astonishing for the time. Dreamcast delivered crisp 3D graphics, anti-aliasing, and arcade-perfect ports thanks to its Naomi-based architecture. Games like Soul Calibur, Shenmue, Phantasy Star Online, and Jet Set Radio demonstrated fluid animations and visual styles that felt like they had leapt forward a generation. Then there was the VMU, the Visual Memory Unit, a memory card with its own screen. It worked as a mini console, handheld device, and in-game companion. Players could raise Chow in Sonic Adventure on the Go or see live info on the LCD during gameplay. PlayStation 2, 2000. On paper, the PlayStation 2 looked like another incremental step in console evolution. In reality, it was a technological titan that reshaped entertainment itself. Much of its legacy comes from sheer power. The Emotion Engine CPU was an innovative architecture capable of effects that wouldn't become standard until the HD era. But what truly set the PS2 apart was its role as the first affordable DVD player for millions of families worldwide. Pricing the console near the cost of a standalone DVD machine was a masterstroke that transformed the PS2 into a Trojan horse for gaming. The PS2 effectively accelerated the global adoption of DVDs and simultaneously made gaming a household norm. Its backward compatibility with the original PlayStation library further cemented its place as the centerpiece of living rooms around the world. Graphically, the PS2 set new standards. Titles like Shadow of the Colossus, Metal Gear, Solid 2, Final Fantasy X, and God of War 2 pushed effects, particle systems, massive environments, realistic animation that felt impossible on early hardware. Microsoft Xbox 2001. When Microsoft stepped into the console arena with the original Xbox, many doubted the newcomer. By 2001, Sony and Nintendo had built empires. Yet, within a single generation, Microsoft launched a technological leap that changed the future of gaming forever. The Xbox was the first console built like a high-end PC. It had an internal hard drive, killing the need for memory cards, and used DirectX technology that allowed developers to create games faster and more efficiently. The biggest innovation, however, was Xbox Live. If Dreamcast introduced online play, the Xbox perfected it. The service offered voice chat, unified profiles, matchmaking, friends lists, and digital content, all the features modern gamers take for granted. This created a true online ecosystem. Halo 2 became a phenomenon, setting standards for console shooters, matchmaking systems, and competitive play. Nintendo Wii 2006. In 2006, while Sony and Microsoft were locked in a technological arms race, Nintendo stepped aside and took a completely different path. The Nintendo Wii didn't try to be the most powerful console. It tried to be the most inclusive, and that decision made it years ahead. The Wii introduced motion controls on a scale never seen before. While earlier systems had toyed with sensors, none had achieved the precision, accessibility, and mass-market appeal that Wii delivered. The Wii Remote was not just a controller. It was a bridge, a way for grandparents, parents, kids, and even people who had never touched a controller to enjoy games instantly. Titles like Wii Sports became worldwide phenomena, turning living rooms into virtual bowling alleys and tennis courts. Its impact reached beyond gaming. It influenced physical therapy, fitness programs, and even school activities. Motioning exploded globally, inspiring competitors to create Kinect and PlayStation Move. PlayStation 3, 2006. The PlayStation 3 was controversial at launch, expensive, complex, and difficult for developers to master. But beneath that rocky start was a console that was technologically far beyond anything else of its time. Sony took a bold risk with the Cell broadband engine, a processor so advanced it bordered on futuristic. Designed with parallel processing in mind, it offered breathtaking computational power, but only for those who learned to wield it. Games like The Last of Us, Uncharted 2, and Killzone 2 showcased cinematic storytelling and graphical fidelity that felt like the world had skipped a generation. Another future-forward choice was the inclusion of a Blu-ray drive. At launch, critics mocked the decision for making the system expensive, but in hindsight, it was a visionary move. Blu-ray eventually became the global standard for HD media. Nintendo Switch, 2017. Finally, we arrive at a console that redefined what next generation could mean. The Nintendo Switch wasn't the most powerful system, but it didn't need to be. Instead, it delivered something radical: true hybrid gaming. The Switch pioneered the idea that a console didn't have to choose between handheld and home experience. It could seamlessly be both. With a simple slide of the Joy-Cons and a dock, players could switch modes instantly. This flexibility felt magical. You could start a game on your TV, then pick it up and continue anywhere. It made gaming fit life rather than the other way around. The Joy-Cons introduced advanced haptic feedback and motion capabilities, reminiscent of the Wii but more refined. The system also supported local wireless multiplayer, allowing spontaneous social gaming sessions anywhere. Its library became one of the strongest in Nintendo history. Breath of the Wild, Super Mario Odyssey, Animal Crossing, New Horizons, and Metroid Dread showcased deep, flexible designs suited to both handheld and docked play.